Submitted on the 15th of January 2018 23:23. Dear West Yorkshire Police, I now wish to lodge a formal complaint to the police regarding a joint conspiracy to defraud my vulnerable brother, Mr. Talib Hussain, of his legal right due to his vulnerability as a vulnerable adult suffering from mental health issues and the fraudulent procurement of the power of attorney regarding my mother Mrs. Fateh Begum, who is a dementia sufferer. The perpetrators of this conspiracy to defraud are Mr. Adalat Hussain of 8 Granton Street, Mr. Rodney Noon of Arron Solicitors, Mr. Afzal Ahmed Khan, the principal/proprietor of Arron Solicitors, and finally Mr. Barry Fitzgerald, a private contractor mental capacity assessor working for TFS Consultancy. The background to the circumstances are that I, Mr. Sajid Hussain, better known as Shahzad Hussain, had been unjustly convicted of several counts of fraud against my family members in February 2016. After I attempted to whistleblow on the local authorities' failures in social care. Following on from this conviction, the prosecutor in the case against me, being the local authority, LA, City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council, CBMDC, looked to bring further proceedings to bear, this time under the Proceeds of Crime Act, PCA, and are looking to lay claim to everything I held in my name and under trust for family members. The final POCO hearing was scheduled for the 17th of December, 2016, whilst I was still in prison. Following my absence and incarceration, Brother Adalat took over the responsibility of managing the family home. Before I left him a small cash sum to deal with any contingencies. Following my incarceration, I disclosed to him a larger cash sum, for him to assist with family expenses and as an emergency fund. It is this responsibility which Adalat has fraudulently exploited to his personal financial advantage, at the direct expense of the care of the vulnerable adults which he was duty-bound to care for, with the assistance of others. Mr. Adalat Hussain has a long-standing and pre-existing relationship with the owner of Arron Solicitors in Halifax, one Mr. Afzal Khan. Both of these individuals belong to the same fringe religious occult fraternity organization known as Barala Sharif. They refer to each other as spiritual brothers and regularly attend festivals and religious meeting groups together. It is due to this pre-existing relationship that Adalat had sought advice from Afzal, who then recommended the firm he himself owns, Arron's, to act as interested intervening parties in the PCA proceedings against me, which I myself had advised him to do. Mr. Rodney Noon is only a working employed contracted solicitor at the firm, who has been fronted and tasked with the job of representing the interest of the victims of the crime, Mother Mrs. Begum and brother Talib Hussain, with the assistance of Adalat Hussain initially acting only as a Mackenzie friend in the proceedings. Whilst in prison I had advised Adalat to seek legal representation and look to have both mother and brother represented as interveners in the proceedings. Given the circumstances present at the time was that the prosecutor were looking to claim all funds I had held in trust as now being proceeds of crime, and thus placing them in a position to have all funds confiscated. This seemed totally preposterous to me at the time. On the one hand, the local authority had convicted me of defrauding my family members of money I held in trust for them, thus claiming it was proceeds of crime, and then, on the other hand, looking to confiscate it all for themselves, depriving mother and brother Talib of any funds which the LA had now classified as criminal proceeds, which in reality belonged to either myself, mother or brother Talib. The final PCA hearing in December 2016 was postponed to allow the interveners to be joined in the proceedings. A mention hearing was set for the 2nd of February 2017. I had not personally attended both these hearings but was legally represented. It is following the last hearing in February 2017 that I became aware of the judge's order and direction to have a deputyship in place for Talib Hussein. I was at the time alarmed and shocked that the judge had made such a ruling, given he had never met or seen Talib throughout my trial and he would not have been aware of Talib's mental capacity. I vehemently objected at this to my solicitor at the time, a fellow prisoner, who advised that they would look into the matter but for the time it was not the priority. It is due to this ruling, which has started a chain of events, which has ultimately resulted in an opportunity to be afforded to the perpetrators to conspire to defraud vulnerable adults under the guise that they are acting in their best interest. I believe in April or May 2017, Arron solicitors following court direction instructed TFS Consultancy to carry out a mental capacity assessment of both Mother Fateh Begum and Talib Hussein, the startling results of which were relayed to me whilst I was still in prison. To my surprise, the mental capacity assessor had conveniently concluded that my mother did have mental capacity but brother Talib did not. This didn't make any sense to me. Mother could barely remember events of late and was traumatized following my incarceration. And yet the professional expert assessor had concluded she had mental capacity to give her power of attorney to Adalat. Mother had at first refused to sign any documents but was insistent that Adalat instruct solicitors so that I, her primary carer, could be returned to her from prison. She never gave her power of attorney for Adalat to pursue any legal action against me or intervene in any proceedings. It is at this stage that Afzal, claiming to be an independent family friend, fraudulently assisted Adalat to obtain my mother's present power of attorney. This is a major conflict of interest given Afzal is not known to the rest of the family but only to Adalat, whom are both spiritual brothers. Furthermore, he is the owner of Arron solicitors and was the one who arranged for Rodney Noon to take up Adalat's case. Prior to my incarceration, Mother had been suffering from dementia for a number of years. Her memory had been gradually failing her. However, following my imprisonment, Mother's mental state and physical health had completely deteriorated, through worrying, anxiety and distress. She had become distraught at the idea that I, as her primary carer, had gone to prison and she couldn't understand why. Given she herself had never once complained about my conduct and she had been freely financing me with her money. Adalat has manipulated the situation to take advantage of her so he could be in a position of control over her finances. Regarding my brother Talib, since he had been conveniently assessed as lacking mental capacity, attempts have been made to quickly get a deputyship order in place for Talib. Talib himself was told a yarn regarding his house of 10 Thornbury Avenue and that a sales figure had been agreed with a known associate of Talib, a one Mr. As of Thornbury who was to buy the property. A figure of £104,000 had been touted to Talib and under this understanding he had signed documents which he believed were sales instructions and had paid a fee. The reality was something very different, as these were deputy application forms for Talib in favor of Adalat to be his deputy. Once again Afzal played an instrumental role as an alleged independent party, a family friend, who had translated the papers so that Talib was made to understand the application. Mr. Afzal is a barrister and fully knows that this is a major conflict of interest and was knowingly looking to deceive a vulnerable adult so that Adalat could be granted power over Talib's finances. And his firm of Arron's solicitors would be the beneficiary of the outcome of the PKA case against me as they represented the interveners. Afzal's involvement is evidenced by court documentation. where he makes false declarations to the effect that he is a family friend and an independent party, not that he is a beneficiary to the proceedings against me. I would like this matter fully and independently investigated. Regards, Mr. S. Hussain.